What up? Log 15.0. What to say about this week? Let's see. Coming in no notes per usual, but I don't know what I want to say. I do know I wanted to do this one though today, but so exhausted I made myself like some black coffee because I'm all out of milk like about an hour ago just to down it so I could do it, even though I don't know what I'm going to say, what I wanted to say. I think there is something I'd like to say. Um, and I'll get to it. So let's do it. Um, so this week, what was unique about this week? Not too much, to be honest. I guess what is different is finally hitting the getting some traction around candidates. Working with recruiters, interviewing CSMs. I haven't personally spoken with anyone just yet because the first round, way I set it up, as I mentioned the other week, was my colleague basically do that first round slash phone screen slash litmus test, sniff test, vibe check, whatever you want to call it, is really what it is. And then have her actually recording the calls with these candidates so that I can review after the fact and review her notes as well as how the call went and make my own assessment, of course, but really taking into account what her feedback is. And to be honest, I'm really enjoying seeing her getting better at interviewing with each interview. In some ways, I make up my mind about the candidate pretty quick, maybe too quick. Like I've said, I'm pretty judgmental, but you know, um, really all I'm making my mind up about is whether I want to speak with them or not. And to me, that's pretty quick and easy to do, you know. But what I'm really enjoying seeing is her iterating on interviewing. I know the first few ones she did, it was kind of agonizing actually to listen to her to stumble and fumble through it a little bit. But she's done a bunch in like quick succession this week, and like even the last one she did today versus the first one she did today, like that much better already, right? So really happy to see that. Um, and Yeah, I was kind of cringing to be honest with the first few ones, and now I'm feeling much better about like her interviewing too, and it's great to see kind of thing. So um, that said, um, now it's on me obviously to with these candidates as they kind of proceed to the next round with myself to sell these candidates on us because it is a precarious kind of position to be in for them, given that they'll be working remote in the US. And granted, everyone's working remote right now, but for a UK company, as like all on their own, wherever they're at, halfway around the world, however many time zones different, in all likelihood five, given we're looking for someone East Coast. But, you know, I'm open to anyone in the UK or the US so long as they're like wholly committed to working East Coast hours. Granted, UK Canada would be fine, be cool too, but I don't really believe as much as somebody thinks they could or would or be happy to work, you know, US hours from the UK, that they'd be able to effectively for very long. It's just the way it aligns. You get none of your evenings, even if you don't have a family or whatever to have dinner with, you know, I don't know how well it works or would work. And I really wouldn't want to wish that on anyone, even if they said or thought they wanted it. It's just better to be, you know, supporting customers in time zones that align with yours as closely as they can or as much as possible, right? Um, so that said, we are looking for East Coast hire. My counterpart, VP of Sales, made his extended offer to his already this week, who happens to be in North Carolina. I guess not far out of Raleigh. And I guess it'd be cool. Suppose if we were able to find a CSM in North Carolina, not far out of Raleigh or in Raleigh as well, and maybe kind of naturally create like a satellite US office again, this time though based out of North Carolina instead of expensive San Francisco. But we'll see. I mean, that may happen, that may not happen. It's not something I really want to influence the decision. I'm just looking for the best possible candidate, and go from there, right? That said, though, with that U.S. sales hire he's made, it makes the U.S. CSM hire all the more important because that U.S. sales rep would be selling to U.S. customers, North American prospects, and if they close, we need somebody to support them and support the ones we already have as well, so that I can have a life again. God damn. I just responded to an email 15 minutes ago that came in at like midnight. Oh, by the way, it's 1:39 a.m. Saturday, January 30th, GMT 2021. Um, so what to say about this week? Initially, at the beginning of the week, you know, I was not too, what's the word? My brain is dead today. It's weird. I really wanted to do this today, but my brain's so dead at the same time. And I know it has been like all day, dude. It's weird. Um, but what I will say about this week is like kind of reviewing the initial candidates. I was really kind of crestfallen. And I was saying this last week as well, is there's so much crapola out there. I don't know if it's why or what it's got to do with, if it's the nature of kind of those that gravitate to customer success, or if it's the fact we're essentially a no name, or I don't know what. But what I will say is, at least here at the tail end of the week, there's a couple, and by a couple I mean two candidates that I really felt better about, and really do want to speak with, and it's got me feeling better about the whole process. So at least it ended well with the week, and around all that. And I do need that light at the end of the tunnel. I really just need to find a good, great hire to own the North American portfolio, maybe APAC too. I don't know. Um, because I'm getting spread so thin that, like, to be honest, at this point, it may even be at the detriment of the company how thinly spread I am. And if I feel that in some way something's being sacrificed, then we just got to pull the trigger on getting additional support so that nothing is doing the best across the board, right? Um, that said, um, I did tell my boss about this today and showed him this channel, right? So he may or may not be listening to these now. I don't know, but that's something significant, I guess. He said, because for the longest time I've been just doing these into the abyss, basically. Like I was reviewing like the analytics on these, and like up until like last week, it was like 5 views maybe, and then I realized that 5 views doesn't even mean like necessarily like 5 people. And I listen to these myself, so some of those views are me myself, listening to myself. So maybe there was like 2 or 3 people most maybe listening to this. And last week I got 18 views. I listened to it maybe once myself. So, but that doesn't mean unique viewers, right? I'm a little bit confused on how these analytics even work with YouTube. It doesn't really matter, honestly, but like, um, anyhow, though, it does change things when, it's less like me speaking to the abyss as it was before. And I was always treating it like I was an audience, or that there might eventually be an audience. But it's different when you think that, somebody as significant as your boss, right? And that's like bleeding, personal and work pretty heavily, But I like being an open book. That's what I really want to be. I don't want to change who I am, like between who I am personally and who I am, professionally. I want to be kind of the same me as much as I can be, as much as I like to be, regardless of whether it's in a work context or personal context. I'm not trying to be a chameleon as much as I'm just trying to be me and have who and how I am work, across the board for me, without changing much. And like listening to these candidates too, some will have their work voice. I mean, I'm sure I do too, to be honest. It's kind of hard not to, but I try not to, and I don't want to kind of have a different voice, whether work or personal. Sure, I can not curse and not use slang, and not talk so casually, but to change the whole way I talk is something I hope I don't do. I don't know though. Um, But that's the point I'm trying to make, is that I'm trying to be the same me without hiding things also to a degree. Not feeling that I have to, I don't want to. I want to be an open book. It's kind of my MO, has been for my whole life. Like, you know, going stretching back to Zenga, just everything out there in writing for everyone to read. And back then, people did read what I wrote, a lot more than people listen to now what I'm saying. It was a different era, but we were younger too, and people were long form blogging back then. I don't know, I'm sure people still do it. It's not to say it doesn't happen, it's not out there, but like Zenga was something because unique. I don't know how big of a community it was. I don't know if it was just very specific to like Asians, Bay Area, California. Did it extend to like the rest of America? I don't even know, but those that know what I'm talking about as far as like Zenga era, at least for me, and how much of my life was around it. I don't know. I'm so brain dead today, dude. This is a horrible log. God damn. All right. Well, let me just say what I was thinking I wanted to say. So, I was talking about the other day or week or whatever, how like my remit is to find my former self and how that's like the best possible task to assign me as far as, kind of hiring someone. But I was also, and I was talking to like one of these recruiters, and I said what we're kind of willing to pay, which is what I was willing to accept, which is what I was making at the previous company I was CSMing at. And he downplayed it, kind of undercut it. And I got a little bit offended because I'm like, that's not bad paid, to be honest, especially for what I'm looking for. I'm not looking for, 10 years of experience. I'm literally just looking for 2+ years, that typical 2+ years of relevant experience, meaning quite specifically client management experience. I'm excluding like just sales. Sales doesn't count in my book as far as client management. That's sales. That's securing clients, not managing them. And to me personally, honestly, like a big key piece of who of candidates kind of experiences, background in implementing as well, not some glorified CSM. This really should be called an account manager. If they not have experience implementing, to me they're not a pure CSM. They're more of like an account manager, and I'm not looking for one of those. But I was also, honestly, right? If it weren't for the fact that I had like criminal record at the time I took, I was out on bail when I got this job, right? I was on, I've been over this before. I don't have to recount it all again. But if it weren't for my criminal record, like, to be honest, I wouldn't be here, right? If it weren't for my criminal record, yeah, I would have got the job at Cisco, right? The background, I wouldn't have failed the background check, would have gotten the job there, would have been making mega money up front. Like, all told, it was like a 200K package. That's more than I'm even making now, to be frank with everybody, right? However many years later, 3.5 going on 4 years later, still making less than I would have been making there then. For the criminal record that like blocked me from getting the gig, right? um but at the same time, I'm grateful. It's one of those like telltale stories of like, oh, I'm grateful how it worked out, and I always wonder with that if like people just kind of rationalize, who knows how it might have been if I went there as well. But we all know I'm more like a startup person. Anyone that knows me knows I'm probably better placed where I'm at doing what I'm doing now than I would have been even there. I'm certainly probably happier. That to me is almost undoubtable, you know? And I like what we do too. That is undeniable. Much more appealing to me than, technically it was App Dynamics, right? I was a competitor to previous, oh, no name dropping. That's right. Competitor where I was previously working, right? It was no wonder they wanted me, or basically kind of poaching me, even though I was currently unemployed. But that shit was so dry. APM, man, never mind that, man. So much more like enthralled with what we do. And I like what we do, and I like doing it, implementing it, making it work. And to me, I couldn't invest the amount of my lifetime, effort, stress, whatever, into this if I didn't like what we're actually doing. I really believe that. Um, but that said, so for me to find my former self, like, to be quite frank, if it weren't for the criminal record, my former self probably wouldn't even be here, right? So I really got to, I think, sell whomever on us. Not even necessarily sell, just really explain, because I think the circumstance, the situation is really kind of compelling right now. It used to be pretty bad, and I can explain away those Glassdoor reviews from a few years ago, which were absolutely merited. Like, I don't have no issue with them whatsoever. I could probably guess some of who wrote them, but maybe not. Any number of people could have written any number of those, bad reviews we got way back when, um, because it was too true. And for most part, I think we've addressed, like, not like by intention or design, it just shook out that way, that we've basically righted what all we were doing wrong, I feel like. But also, being a Series A company that's profitable is unique in and of itself, and it really opens some doors to us being really creative in how we proceed. Right? We don't necessarily need to raise another round. We don't have to dilute our equity. Go join another Series A company, and whatever the equity you get may quickly be diluted very heavily. And that's the whole con of the startup game in the Valley, honestly, is that you get this equity and you don't even know what it really may amount to. You know, sure, if it's a rocket ship, it's going to be worth something, I suppose, right? But like, everyone's always kind of a mystery when you join early, what it'll ultimately, like, your equity will amount to. Of course, it's always like a question mark, because you never know if there's even going to be an exit. But at least with us, like, the equity you get may not get diluted. We may opt, and we're toying with the idea of just going, like, kind of the profitable route and managing growth very stably, and maybe do something creative like a profit sharing model amongst the employees, instead of pursuing the hyper growth strategy that we did previously, and was, in my, even at the time, I thought was a bad idea. And in retrospect, I was right. It was, and I was right. Like, at the time, definitely, yeah, not the way to go. But now we're very product centric, customer centric, and tight knit, hardworking group. And it shook out that way, if you think about it, because there's so many layoffs. So all those that didn't get laid off were really key, obviously. And then there's those that, like, self-selected to leave. They weren't committed to the company, didn't believe in it, or, like, rightfully so at certain times, right? But those that remain are chose to, even through, like, the toughest times, and were kept because they're key too. So what you're left with is a very, like, committed core group to rebuild around. And now, for the first time in what, 2 years, 2+ years, now we're growing again, but in a mature way, in a stable way, and not like in a let's hire a whole sales team sort of way. One sales rep in the US, one US CSM. Maybe the next hire is like a developer, or hire after that, maybe like a solutions engineer. But I like this. I like this way. This is the way, in my mind's eye. Um, I was explaining to one of these recruiters that my buddy introduced me to. So you got to talk to him. This guy's sharp, but the guy was so nosy, like, asking all details. What's your ARR? Blah blah blah. I told him, and told we're profitable. Then he's like, oh, the math doesn't add up. I'm like, dude, I'm not lying to you. Maybe we just underpay ourselves, right? Like, well, we are profitable. So if the math doesn't add up, maybe it's because you can't wrap your head around the UK pay rates, or the fact that in the UK we don't have to pay medical on top, right? Healthcare comes for free. I don't know why the math doesn't align in your mind, but, like, I got defensive. I was like, bro, I'm not lying to you. We're profitable. If the math doesn't add up, I don't know what to tell you. Like, it does. Like, so I don't know, but what I will say here is, I talk too much shop talk all the time, and maybe I need to be more sensitive about that too. Um, but what I will say, and I'll leave it at this because this is not a good one. I'm not flowing. My brain is dead, dude. This was a disruptive day. I realized went to my CEO's place, me, the VP of sales, and the CEO to kind of. The idea was to connect and discuss stuff together. But we all had like separate calls, and we didn't really discuss much, to be honest. I didn't get there till like noon too. I had to do stuff before I took off. Um, and then the VP of sales had to leave at like 4. So that left what, like a 4-hour window. And even in there, we each had like a couple of calls we had to take. So we all met up and didn't really discuss much, but stuck around after the VP of sales left to, you know, and even then it was just me and the CEO kind of doing some stuff and mostly eating together, but it was good. It was good to gel a little, right? But it was very disruptive for me. And I realized I'm so ingrained in my ways that even like going and working, at my CEO's place, I just felt so ineffective, right? Like even just like not having my monitor, I'm just on my computer. I feel like constrained, almost like claustrophobic, like all the windows tightly, I can't like, I don't know. I've just be, I work over a year working, approaching a year working from home in London, and then over a year working from home back home. Um, I've just become so like set in my ways, I suppose, which is concern at the same time because I want to be flexible. I want to be able to work from a coffee shop or work from wherever, but so used to working from home that I don't know. I couldn't adjust. I can't adjust. And I don't think I've ever really been the type to work from a coffee shop. It's never been a. I'd love to be able to be that type of person that can like just work from anywhere, but maybe it's the nature of the work I do, or maybe it's just my nature, but I can't. I don't know. Especially after years of just working from home with my monitor and my setup, and just become so set in my ways, like I said. Um, that said, what I what I will say about kind of me, I suppose, is that when I tell people like I'm bipolar, right, and I don't advertise it too much, but I don't hide it either, right? To me, it's not something I want to hide, but I also don't want to advertise it as if it's like a badge of honor or something that I feel like some when I tell people I'm bipolar, they oftentimes say, I think I am too, sort of thing. I get that a lot. And granted, I think everything's a spectrum, right? I'm not gonna say they're not on some level, right? Even like this week, I thought one of my coworkers was acting kind of manic and dropped the manic word, right? Like, being kind of manic, man. Like and when I use that word, it means something because but yeah. Um, but and I think he's certainly on the spectrum. And he's a savant at the same time. This guy's a genius. So, it may not be, yeah, it may actually be true. um, but what I will say though is that I think with like bipolarity, it's a lot like depression. I mean, part of it is depression. Everyone can relate to being depressed. Everyone feels like they've been depressed. Everyone, I think, maybe has been depressed, if only very briefly, or if only, not as deeply as maybe other people, right? And there again, like I said, it's a spectrum, but you know, I think most people feel they've been depressed at some point in their life, and most people have flirted with mania as well, I imagine, right? Like, um, but what I will say is that like there's this one girl that doesn't really know, this Turkish girl, right, that I met in Turkey that I can't even like communicate with, right? Everything has to be translated. I don't speak Turkish, right? She doesn't speak English. So, but she was, and maybe somebody's lost in translation with this, but She was saying something, this was way back when, like the fact of you make too much of it, right? Which cuts both ways, right? And it did feel like it cut too. So in one way, make too much of it. Like as if I'm advertising it, like, I'm just being honest about it. It's a thing for me. I mean, it's a big part of my life. Every day I take pills for it, dude. It's the reason why I'm here. If it weren't for bipolar, the criminal record wouldn't have happened. But the criminal record wouldn't have happened, I wouldn't be here. Like, I mean, it's a big part of my life, right? So to make too much of it, there's no downplaying how much it's changed my life. Um, but at the same time, maybe she thinks that, like, you don't have it that bad, right? And that's good in a sense, because that means that maybe somebody, that she doesn't think that, like, I'm quote unquote that bipolar, right? And that means that I've got it under control, and, like, that's kind of what I like. I wouldn't like anybody to think I'm especially bipolar, especially lately. I think I've been really good, and if somebody thought I was, then maybe I'm just delusional about how good I think I've been lately. Um, but at the same time, those that know me know that, like, when I was bad, it's really bad. It was really bad, man. There's no, you know, it was really bad, man. I can get really bad. Having gotten bad, I know I can, and it took getting really bad to know how bad I could be and how embarrassing it is. And that's why I often say, like, I've embarrassed myself more than I can even remember, maybe, right? More than so much is what I'm saying. Um, and and talk about, like, motivations, right? Like, obviously, money's a motivation, is it's for just about anybody, of varying degrees. There's spectrum to that too. But one motivation for me has always been, like, proving to myself and to others. Not just to myself, but to others too. Like, I am very, like, prove to others motivated. Um, but to myself as well. Just proof motivated in a way. I'm reminded of this, time kind of toward the end of college. And, it was kind of manic at the time. And I had a girlfriend then at that time who actually liked the manic me, or the manic me she got to see. It wasn't the worst kind of manic. It was like more hypomanic than anything. And she fell in love with me in my hypomanic state. And she had to, like, I feel like, re-fall in love with me once I came back from Turkey one time. And usually when I come back from Turkey, I'm kind of manic. This one time though, I came back and I like I was not. And I always felt like she wanted me to get back to that hypomanic state. For sure, dude. It wasn't just something I felt, right? She maybe didn't explicitly say it, but I damn well knew it. And that's not healthy either. But in fairness to her, the person she fell in love with first was the hypomanic me, maybe straight up manic, but just not deep end type. And then I wasn't. And I feel like, fortunately, she fell in love with the me that wasn't as well. But there's always that piece in the back of her, like, head, no, and heart as well. I kind of wished for the former me, the hypomanic me. Um, Without a doubt. That said, I remember she was living in I was in South Bay at the time, or I forget where I was, but I wasn't at my place anymore. And she kind of assumed my room with my roommates. And she was telling me how my roommate, my good buddy, and this other guy were talking about how I would have to change if I wanted to make it in the world, right? In the, I don't know if they were saying corporate world, maybe it was more what they were saying was real world. And she was, like, eavesdropping from my room on them talking about me and how I have to change, sort of thing. I remember her telling me on the phone too that, like, it made her ill. She was like, just hearing how they were talking about you and how you had to change, like, physically made me ill, she said. And she's the type that I believe that it did, right? Like I know like some people get really like physically affected by things. She was that type too. And she said it made me sick to my stomach, sort of thing. So I don't know exactly what they were saying or how they were saying it, but that like affected her and infuriated her too. She, told me as much. Um, and I know when I was still with her, through the FedEx era, and then eventually my, first white collar job, right, in sales. And I know she was so opposed to me being in sales. And I knew personally that I didn't want to be in sales either. And she was saying, just get out of it. It's not, don't do sales, like, almost like disgusted by my decision, to be in sales. Right. And me personally, I'm like, I don't want to be in sales, but this is my foot in the door. I got to get my career started. Like, I can't be working at FedEx office as a college grad. Like, goddamn, dude, like, I need to make a move. And, you know, um, this is, a step in the right direction as far as a path in the corporate world, right? Um, and I mean, even then at that time, we were young and idealistic. I mean, she was probably, and I was even thinking maybe something other than corporate for me, obviously, right? But it was important to me that I prove, right, to people that I could do the corporate world, that I could compete, succeed in the corporate world, right, without having to change me. Right, even not having heard what my buddy and my friend said to me that she overheard that made her sick to hear, never mind all that, like with or without having heard that much was true to me, that I need to be able to prove to myself and the world that I could do the corporate thing, succeed in the corporate thing, ideally succeed and get the fuck out, own it, and nope out of it with money in my pocket, you know play the game, win the game, change the rules of the game for myself going forward, do my own thing after I've proven that I can do the corporate thing. Maybe I'm just a sellout and I'm just justifying, but it was important to me that I do that. And even in sales, I'll use sales as like a perfect example. Like I knew I didn't want to do sales. I knew I hated sales. I knew it's not something I wanted to make a career doing, but I wanted to do it to prove that I could do so successfully, both to myself and to others. And I feel like I did. Um, and then it led to, if it weren't for my experience in sales, there's no way I would have become a CSM. And I enjoy being a CSM. That is, I feel, I wouldn't call it my calling per se, but it does like align with my temperament and mentality and personality and like motivations, natural intrinsic type motivations really well. Um, like just to use an example, like I mean, I'm still friends with most of my exes, right? So when it comes to like relationship management, if you could still be friends with most of your exes, yeah, I'm more CSM than I am like sales hunter sort of thing, right? Um, but I need to prove to myself that I could be a hunter too, right? And yeah, but really now, like, and not just now, but has been for a while, is I'm not trying to be like an example of a bipolar person being successful. I mean, I am, right? But I'm not trying to hold myself up as like, hey, bipolar one person that did it. But I want to do it, as a bipolar one person, because I know when I was at like the depths or like early days and depths of like being bipolar. But I guess I always was, right? But like diagnosed, like coming off like first manic episode, hospitalizations, heavily medicated, trying to figure out what's like right for me, total haze, like that era. I remember, of course, looking up who else is bipolar out there, that's been successful. There's like Ted Turner apparently, and a lot of like artists or musicians, sure, right? But I was like, what about like, is there anyone that's like outside of Ted Turner that's like been really like, not artistically successful, but like corporate success? And outside of Ted Turner, I can't even remember very many, if any. And that's saying something. So, sure, you can be a successful musician or artist and be bipolar, and we got Van Gogh or whatever, Van Gogh, uh, examples galore, right? But what about that corporate route? Who's an example? And I'm sure there's a plenty out there, but probably don't. I mean, it's okay to be bipolar as a musician artist, but if you're like a CEO of a, you know, Fortune 500 company, is that something that you want people to know, even if it's true? I don't know. Probably not. Maybe something you fess up to in retirement. I don't know, in your autobiography after it's all said and done. I don't know. But like I said, I don't outside 10 Turtle, I don't know any goddamn examples. Maybe I need to dig deeper, but I love to be an example, right? Obviously, not of a Fortune 500. That's never going to be for me, I don't think. And I wouldn't want it, honestly. I don't want it. I don't want to be a Fortune 500 CEO of shit. But would love to be wildly successful still, right? Um, and yeah, I'm trying to do it without hiding it, also. And here again, if somebody thinks like, I'm making too much of this, I mean, just go to my Twitter. I know it's hidden. So if you're not already following, tough luck. But those that have been following me for years, I mean, it's all over there. There's no denying, like, dude, this guy was crazy. And I didn't delete shit from Twitter by design. I said before, long ago that I wouldn't and didn't, haven't, with the exception of one tweet I once deleted. I don't know why. Don't even remember what it was about. It wasn't that bad, not compared to all the other crap, especially. But like, it's there to show. If I ever get like famous or something, there's so much out there, so you can easily screenshot and cancel my ass so easily, bro. So easily. I'm okay with that. Like, I'll make myself easily cancelable, sure, but like, I'm not trying to hide like who I am or how I've been or who I've been or how I was, is what I'm trying to say, or who I could maybe even easily become again, man. And that's something to keep in mind for myself, always day in and day out. Like, don't forget how bad it could be. Um, there is a flip side to it. I mean, how good it is, better than any other drug I've ever been on, right? Not that I'm a huge druggie, but I've done my fair share, and I'm saying there's nothing competes to the beautiful mania, but there's a bad side to it too. And fortunately for me, I've had it so bad that I no longer like seek the mania anymore. Unfortunately, I guess my life is good enough now, and maybe it's just my brain is mature. I've just matured that I don't like seek the mania like I used to. I mean, I used to like want to bring it on, right? And maybe it just took it getting so bad for me to snap out of that. you know, fuck how it feels like, fuck your life up. Even though people don't understand that, I think in many ways depression is more insidious. But fortunately, God forbid, I mean, I get depressed out here. It'd be so bad if I did. I touched on this before. It's scary to even think about, like, if I got hit with that out here, I don't know what I would do. Thank God for this job for, I guess, keeping me from being depressed. Um, so much to do and accomplish day in and day out, like, and accomplish day in and day out. And I guess it is my, like, satisfaction sustenance is, what, this job. I'm not like living for the weekend like I was at other jobs, right? I'm perfectly happy doing nothing on the weekend and taking my satisfaction from what I do Monday through Friday, even though I fucking hate Mondays. Fucking hate everyone and everything, but myself most of all, I suppose. But my life. Fuck my life, sort of every fucking Monday for whatever reason. I don't know why. So I gotta try and change that. There's no reason, right? I don't know why though. That's the way it plays out. And thank God I feel good come Fridays, right? Once the week is over. And not because the week is over, but because, each week I feel good about what I accomplished that week. I think it's just every Monday, it's oh my God, there's so much to fucking do this week, right? But every Friday, oh, I did so much this week, right? Well, I feel perfectly fine not doing shit come the weekend. So, but that's not okay either. I need to have like a life outside of work, and I need to be not okay with not doing anything every fucking Saturday and Sunday. That said, this is something I've been doing and sticking with, and I mean, pat myself on the back, I guess, for keeping up with this at least. Some sort of like personal discipline because I'm lacking it in my personal life everywhere else, right? Don't smoke any less, don't still Uber eating too much, still not exercising, still not really doing all the personal self-help improvement stuff I should be doing. But this thing I've been doing, I'm gonna build on this with more positive habits. That said, this one really sucked, guys. I'm sorry. But with that said, I'll let it go, On to the next one. We'll reconnect for a Sweet 16 next week. With that said, much love. Be happy. Do good. Love out.